Dude, you're not toxic, okay? If you clicked this, you're probably a normal dude like me, and you're probably sort of feeling attacked or shamed for moving up in the world. I'm gonna tell you the story of one word that literally squashes the progress of every dude in America and maybe in the world. So all of the tools of self-development are opposed by society. You don't even notice it, that it's squashing your progress. But this word, this concept, this movement is in your brain. It's taken residence in your subconscious, and it's getting you all failure-y and loser-y and making you hold back, and it's just crappy. So here's the story. I've been searching for a meaningful life for probably 20 years. It's been really important to me since I was young. And, you know, I searched the conventional things of success. I've read a lot of the Bible. I've read philosophy. I've read about entrepreneurship. I got married. I have kids. I have a business. And I found out that building a meaningful life is really about building. Life is a building project. You're building a family. You're building a business. You're building community. You're creating things. Everything is about creation. And so that's the first point. You want to take that into account. So I need to go back to the beginning though. So when I was in 2007, I was in college, and I got my first dose of the feminism. And I learned that feminism was for some reason cool and moral and compassionate and good. But you know, I had the American dream, and I kind of thought about the American dream over the years, and I boiled it down to basically the American dream is you build a family, you build a career, you get a property, you are nice to your neighbors, and you live in peace. And if you do all that really well and you work hard, then you'll have a legacy. You'll have an inheritance for your kids, right? So I learned that the American dream was sort of the embodiment of a fulfilling life, a meaningful life. It all connected with creating and so on and so forth. And then here comes the word misogyny. I learned in college that misogyny, not just college, but over the years since college, that misogyny is supposed to mean the hatred and mistreatment of women. But it turns out that that's not how they use it. And I'm going to lay that out right now, because this really does tie to self-development for men. So the thing that I learned, this is kind of the spoiler, but yeah, I'm going to explain all of it. Words mean what they name, okay? So they don't necessarily mean what they say in the dictionary. Words in practice, in society, in culture, they actually mean what they name. And so let me explain that to you. If you see a cat and you point at the cat and you say cat, you are naming the thing that you see. You're naming the thing that you point at. It's a four-legged feline, right? And you see it and you say cat, right? And so misogyny's dictionary definition is hatred and mistreatment of women. But actually, they don't point, when they point and they name you or the men this thing, or sometimes actually, just so you know, even women can be misogynistic according to the feminist movement. So the point is that I learned that a meaningful life was about building things. I learned that all of the things that I wanted to build were supposedly called misogynist. So it was misogynist to have a traditional family because Handmaiden's Tale or whatever the name was. And, having kids was patriarchal, and something about how it was bad because of overpopulation. And so abortion was apparently good because women's empowerment. And I was like, wow, abortion's bad, family's good, kids are good, providing and protecting for your wife is good, having a good job is good, moving up in the world is good, and yet it's called misogynistic because I actually went on a search. I researched this for like 6 months straight, where I just tried to find every time that the feminist heroes would say misogyny, and they would declare it and call it out as if they were trying to save us from some evil, right? Some existential evil. And so I learned in doing this that all of the tools of self-development are opposed by society. So that means that if you're decisive, then that is effective at moving you up the hierarchy, and it's masculine, and therefore it's misogynist. If you're effective, if you are protecting of women, if you're doing all these things, and if you're good at what you do, and you're strong, and you win, these are all things that, and also really quick, if you're Christian, they say that Christianity is the most misogynistic book that exists, according to Google and according to all these supposed academics. So this is really getting into our psyche, right? And men, even though we think we want to be winners and we think we want to be successful, we're being held back subconsciously because we have this kind of lingering guilt about moving up the ladder, about taking the job from the lady who also applied for it, and so on and so forth. And so then I discovered one more thing that's very important: the idea of equality. Because I was wondering, why do they say that all of these things that are inherently actually good are actually misogynistic? They're actually hatred towards women. They're the patriarchy. And the patriarchy is supposedly so bad. And so what I found is that in the explanation of there's some dogs trying to eat me. In the explanation of all the feminist manifestos, they evoke equality, right? Equity and equality. And I thought about equality, and I realized that equality doesn't exist. Everything is different. Nothing is equal. Things are different sizes, different shapes, different temperaments, we all have different points of views. We all think differently. We work differently. We have different amounts of strength. The sexes are different. Even twins, identical twins with supposedly the same DNA, are slightly different, and we celebrate those differences, guys. We actually celebrate the differences of the people. We find joy in distinguishing them and knowing the personality of the identical twin and the other identical twin, right? So it doesn't matter where you look. And by the way, Thomas Sowell, read lots of his books. He taught me about to understand this idea of equality, but I kind of say it differently. So equality is a myth, and yet it is the main goal, supposedly, of the New Age culture, of the New Age society. And we, even as conservatives, tend to allow them to say that equality is a noble goal. And we're not even realizing that equality is completely a myth. You cannot reach equality. And when you try, it's destructive. And so when I realized that all of this, and I put it all together, and I realized that misogyny was a word that is used to name normal dudes who do normal things, who have normal ambitions, then I was like, oh, I'm not falling for this anymore. I'm no longer going to feel guilty about moving up in the world. I'm no longer going to feel guilty about building a family, about protecting my wife, about looking out for her best interests, about raising my kids and being a father figure who has authority in the household and who projects strength and projects decisiveness and so on and so forth. So I learned that I can be shamelessly effective, and that is the goal of self-development, is to become shamelessly effective, right? So that you can actually create the things and you can create the meaningful life that you want, right? And so that is basically what all of my videos are about. I was actually terrified to say this, by the way, but I'll leave you with this last thing, which is, if you're terrified to say something, then it's probably what you should be saying. And so I usually give tools for building a meaningful life for men, and sometimes they're mainstream, sometimes they're controversial, but come back, man. Let's talk again soon. Peace.